Coming up, a 70s song with true mystique. A truck driver races through the night to get back to his lover, communicating their desperation for each other through ESP. On the home stretch, he attempts to pass just one more car that stands in the way of completing his journey, making it back to his true love. Does he make it, though? It's the story of one of the ultimate driving songs. It's coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you've ever rooted for your favorite song to make it all the way to number one on the charts, you're going to dig this channel. Make sure that you subscribe below right now and click the bell so that you never miss out on our daily features, stories straight from the legends. That comment actually plays into our show today. It's time for another episode of our series, Number One in Our Hearts. This is where we discuss a song that was so magnificent. It should have been a number one hit on the Billboard Hot 100. You know, it's so frustrating when a great song comes out and, you know, it's soaring up into the upper reaches of the charts and then it stalls just when you think it's going to take the number one spot. It loses that momentum. Well, the song today was really tough because it didn't sound like anything in the top 10 at the time. It was a unique song with an amazing story, and it deserved to be enshrined at the top of the summit. So today we're going to change history. We're going to give it the number one spot, also in our hearts. So here we go. He was driving all night, his hands wet on the wheel. I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. Suddenly, he receives a message from above. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. It's his baby calling, telling him that she needs him. It's my baby calling, says I need you here. Tapping into a gifted psychic power of communication they called radar love. His lover transmits an impassioned plea to get to her as fast as he can. We've got a thing that's called radar love. Radar Love, a frantic song of passion with a tragic ending by Golden Earring, arguably the biggest rock band to come out of Holland. Like many rock classics, Radar Love evolved from an organic riff. It was a bluesy riff created by Golden Earring co-founder and lead guitarist George Kooymans, who was just picking and grinning while the band was rehearsing in a rehearsal studio. George came up with an infectious chord sequence on a rhythm guitar that accidentally became the basis of Radar Love. It's amazing how many times that happens. And the rest of the band, you know, is joined in to slowly build a symphonic instrumental arrangement. Radar Love was conceived as a suite with several distinctive auxiliary parts. For instance, there are two intros. The first is centered around a dramatic 8-bar guitar drum segment created by drummer Cesar Jaderve. The second intro initiates the song's entrancing rhythm line with an escort of marching snare drums. The track has two bridges, one highlighted by Kooymans' guitar licks over the song's primary melody, and another bridge delivered with a pounding drum and horn combination. That was inspired by the music of Santana, with lively Latin percussion and heavy brass. There are also extended solos along with a drawn-out chorus before a vigorous climactic finale. As frontman Barry Hay explained, the inventive structure of Radar Love was all very spontaneous, with lots of artistic improv along the way. At no point in the development of the track did the band ever push back on an idea. They were game for anything, and that was the key to capturing the swelling intensity of Radar Love and the incorporation of some exciting, unconventional elements. For example, the horn section was not planned, but it eventually added meat to the song. The band enlisted occasional band member Elko Gelling to play slide guitar in the chorus. And Cesar's drum solo in the second bridge, that wasn't planned either. Cesar just came up with it at the spur of the moment, really to fill a gap in the song. One of the most distinguishing parts of Radar Love is the bass line, conceived by earring bassist Rhinus Gerritsen. I mean, Gerritsen's sticky groove, it transports us to the passenger seat to ride shotgun on that fateful trip, driving hard and fast down the highway in mad pursuit of carnal fulfillment. When the music for Radar Love was finished, Barry Hay appropriately wrote the lyrics on the fly. The extemporaneous setting gave Barry a stream of consciousness, creating a narration of lustful urgency with a twist of the supernatural. It was the early 70s. There were no mobile phones, and it was just before the CB boom of the 70s. But that didn't stop a truck driver and his lover from communicating with one another. While the driver's on the road, making his way back home, his baby transmits a cable from above with a message that she desperately needs him using a telepathic power that they call Radar Love. The message immediately hypnotizes the driver, and he puts, the pedal to the metal, throws caution to the wind to be with his pining lover. The road has got me hypnotized. Hay revealed that his original opening for the song was, "I'm sitting in a bathtub," but he quickly dismissed that because he thought it wasn't masculine enough. And then he changed it to "sitting in a car," but that didn't really flow very well either. And then he came up with "The Keeper." "I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel." I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. Now, after finding that memorable line to begin the song, Barry really hit his stride from there. It was an extemporaneous setting to compose a song, that's for sure. With Hay jotting down his thoughts and building the story through the wee small hours of the morning. About 4:30 a.m., Barry glanced up at the clock and he finished verse 1 with the line, "It's 4:30 and I'm shifting gear." It's 4:30 and I'm shifting gear. And that's when Hay pushed it into overdrive. He wrote the pre-chorus and subsequently nailed the "We've Got a Thing That's Called Radar Love" chorus. We've got a thing that's called Radar Love. Amazing. Now, as we continue the story, writing of this song, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses I wear all the time. Right now at Zenni.com, you choose the color, the style, the shape, anything you want. There's so many different designs to choose from. And then you just put in your prescription, and you can even say how you look before you buy with Zenni's mirror feature. Put in your address, and you'll have them in about a week or so. It's amazing. Check it out today at Zenni.com. Adam Reeder, the Professor of Rock here. Don't miss the next Professor of Rock live show on Saturday, July 16th at the Eccles Center in Park City. An exclusive evening of story and song with Lou Gramm, the voice of Foreigner. Lou Gramm at Professor of Rock Live, sharing never-before-told stories and performing Foreigner's biggest hits. Get your tickets for Professor of Rock Live at parkcityinstitute.org. Professor of Rock Live with Lou Gramm, the voice of Foreigner, July 16th at the Eccles Center in Park City, presented by the Park City Institute. Okay, so after he nailed the chorus of Radar Love, he continued to put in more personal touches to add imagery to the narrator's frantic ride to reach his lover. Hay recalled his own driving experiences, such as listening to the radio during a long haul and being re-energized when hearing a station play a good old blast from the past, that forgotten song, Brenda Lee Coming On Strong. Hay chose a Brenda Lee tune for the forgotten song because Lee was actually his mother's favorite singer, and he grew up with her music playing frequently on the home phonograph. Hay shared that he preferred "I'm Sorry," Lee's #1 international smash single, and of course Grammy Award-winning performance from 1960, but the song didn't mesh with his lyrical cadence, so he went with "Coming On Strong." Coming on strong. Brenda Lee, if you remember, was only 11 when she blasted onto the pop culture scene. That was in 1955. She was dubbed Little Miss Dynamite, had her first major hit in '59 with the number 4 ditty, Sweet Nothings. Really from '59 to '69, Brenda Lee was one of the biggest names in popular music with 28 top 40 singles. Coming On Strong, written by Little David Wilkins, was one of those 28 hit releases performed by Brenda Lee, cracking the top 10 in the Netherlands and peaking at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1966.
Yes, that's me back in 1956, the year I started making records.
In about 3 hours, Barry Hay completed his tale of two lovers separated physically, yet vividly connected through mystical powers. As the dawn approached, Barry was literally speeding into a new sunrise, just like his last line in verse 2. It's a phrase that is often mistaken for speeding to a nude sunrise, because of Barry's inflection in his vocal delivery. However, the incoming of A New Sunrise was not the prelude to a storybook ending for Radar Love. Barry Hay had another destiny in mind for his anxious protagonist. Instead of a torrid reunion with his longing beloved, the romantic hero, nearing the end of his furious mission, he makes a reckless and fatal decision to pass a car, just one last car. He makes his move, and he crashes into standstill traffic. Oh, one more Radar lover gone.
Oh, one more Radar lover gone!
So in 1961, George Kooijmans and his neighborhood buddy Rinus Gerritsen formed Golden Earring in The Hague, Netherlands. This is when they were only 13 and 15 years old, respectively. In 1968, the band's classic lineup was solidified when Barry Hay replaced original lead singer Franz Krausenberg. In addition to his vocal and writing skills, Hay also created the cover art for several Golden Earring albums. Speaking of album covers, the art for the cover for the Moonton LP that included Radar Love, pretty risque for that era. Moonton featured the picture of a nude woman, which is a photo taken in a studio in Amsterdam by the famous Dutch photographer Ronnie Hertz. Barry Hay was present during the shoot. Now, for decades, the identity of the naked woman was a mystery. Surprisingly, Hertz and Hay claimed that they couldn't remember her name. A few years ago, it was discovered that the woman on the cover of the Moonton album was Jilly Johnson, an Australian model and a page-3 cover girl of the periodical The Daily Mirror. Johnson was actually the first topless model to appear in the Daily Mirror. Fueled by the popularity of Radar Love, Moonton shot to number 1 on the Dutch album chart. It was Golden Earring's most successful LP in the US. It reached number 12 on the Billboard Top 200 album chart. It was the only Golden Earring album to be certified gold by the RIAA. Radar Love was the only single from Moonton. It peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was a top 10 single in the UK and Australia, Canada, Germany, Spain, and Belgium. Now in Holland, it was the third of 5 number 1 hits for Golden Earring. The band did not have a clue that the song would be their breakout hit internationally. It's a bit of an enigma to the guys. They didn't know the song's true potential. That wasn't until they played it live in their concerts and the audience roared with excitement and approval. According to RadarLove.net, the track has been covered more than 500 times. There's a long list of marquee acts such as R.E.M., there's U2, Def Leppard, Crowded House, and Bryan Adams performing renditions of the song.
Radar Love.
In 1989, White Lion recorded a version of Radar Love that actually stalled at number 59 on the Billboard Hot 100. After the popularity of Radar Love, after it plateaued in the spring of 1974, it took 8 more years for the band to have another hit in America. It was in 1982 that the band scored their highest charting song in the States with the George Kooijman authored Twilight Zone, and that reached the top 10, number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. It also went to number 1 on the mainstream rock chart. Now, they may have only had 2 hits in America, but for more than 50 years, Golden Earring has been a virtual powerhouse in the Netherlands. The band achieved top 40 success 47 times. That is the 6th most top 40 singles in Dutch charted history. Only the Rolling Stones, Michael Jackson, Madonna, and a few others have produced more top 40 entries in the Netherlands than Golden Earring. Now, before we talk about where the band is right now, remember, the best way to help our channel and keep it a daily channel is to support us on Patreon. The link is below. You'll get a lot of exclusives there for your support. We appreciate it. Sadly, George Kooijmans announced in 2020 that he was suffering from ALS, the motor neuron disease that is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was forced to retire. Now, the 4 core members of Golden Earring, Barry Hay, Rinus Gerritsen, Cesar Jadovic, and the Kooijman made a pact a long time ago that they would keep on rocking as long as all 4 members were able to continue. Now, following Kooijman's announcement, the band remained true to their oath and announced the official dissolution of Golden Earring. True rock and roll loyalty right there. This band has stood the test of time with a song that seems to be rediscovered by every generation. Now, the week it stalled on the Billboard Hot 100 at number 13, the top 5 songs in America were Ricky Don't Lose That Number by Steely Dan at number 5. Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Rock Your Baby by George McRae falling out of number 1 to number 4. Actually written by one Harry Wayne Casey, later of Casey and the Sunshine Band. Rock and Roll Heaven by the Righteous Brothers at number 3. That's a great song I haven't heard in a while. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me by Elton John at number 2. And then Annie's Song by John Denver at number 1, where it would spend 2 weeks. Again, a good top 5 there. But Radar Love had a totally different sound, and it put listeners in a trance. So I'm going to dare to rewrite history here and borrow one of John Denver's weeks at number 1. I'm going to give it to Golden Earring. He was such a nice guy, he wouldn't mind. Rocky Mountain High. Regardless, Radar Love is a no doubt about it number 1 in our hearts extravaganza. I remember the first time I heard this song, I was probably like 5 or 6. I heard it on the radio, and my dad said, "You know what this is? This is Golden Earring." And he told me exactly what the song was about. And he said, "Listen to the lyrics and see if you know what's going to happen here. See if you know." This guy's racing to find his girlfriend, I think is what he said, because I was a little kid. And they can communicate to each other telepathically, and he's listening and see if you can tell what happens. And I listened to the lyrics, and it was kind of that moment where, first time where I really listened to lyrics intently, and I was a little bit sad. Of course, again, I was 5 or 6 years old when I found out that the guy died. I'm like, he died? Dad, he died? He died in the song? My dad said, yeah, it's a pretty cool song, isn't it? And it was like science fiction meets rock and roll for me, because it was the telepathic communication between the driver and his girlfriend. And so that really stuck with me. So this is a song that means a lot to me, because it was a moment where that kind of came together and that balance. And that's why I love it so much. And so I really appreciate, again, every day I appreciate what my dad has given to me. He's gone now, but these songs, I hear him and it takes me right back to those moments where he first taught me about music. Leave us a comment and tell us, what are your memories of Radar Love, about Golden Earring? Maybe you remember Twilight Zone, another great song. Let us know in the comments below, and let's have a good discussion about it. Make sure that if you're a fan of these videos, if you like what we're doing, make sure to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as a subscriber in this community where we talk about all things music. And make sure to look us up on Patreon. That really is the best way to support us. We want to keep it a daily channel. We love doing this, and we appreciate your support. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Talk to you soon.